how my Johnie Lad, ye're no sae kind ye suld hae been. Gin your voice hadna kent, I couldna eithly trow mine. Sae weel, sae mecht, touzled me, and sweetly pried my bedeen. Hey, how my Johnie Lad, here no sae kind ye suld hae been. My father, he was at the pleugh, my mither, she was at the mill, my Billie, he was at the moss, and knowing near of sport to spill. The feint a body was therein, there was nae fear of being seen. Hey, how my Johnie Lad, ye're no sae kind ye suld hae been. What ony lad wallowed her wheel, he left his bonnie lass her lane, they sigh and greet ilk langsome and think her sweetest minutes gane. Oh, had ye been a leal, we should hae met wi' hearts mair keen. Hey, how my Johnie Lad, ye're no sae kind ye suld hae been. But I maun hae anither jo, was love gangs never out o' mind, and winna let the moment pass when tae a lass he can be kind. Then gang your ways to blinking best, nae mair for Johnie shall she green. Hey, how my Johnie Lad, here no sae kind ye suld hae been. Hey, how, Johnie Lad. The words. The reading glasses. Hey, how my Johnie Lad, you're not as kind as you should have been. Gin your voice I hadna kent, I couldn't eithly trow my een. If your voice I hadn't known, I couldn't have easily trusted my eyes or believed my eyes. So, he's seen her with somebody else. Or else talking shit, you know. Sae weel, sae mecht he touzled me. So well, you might have had touzled me, touzled me. It means to dishevel, you know, that kind of thing. And sweetly pried kissed my bedeen, kissed my mouth right then. Your notes the kinds you should have been. My father, he was at the plough. My mother, she was at the mill. My Billie, my brother, he was at the moss. He was at the bog, gathering stuff to burn or whatever. And no one near our sport to spill. The feint a body, scarce anybody. There wasn't anybody there, was therein. There was no fear of being seen. Now we get to the lines Burns wrote. Well, he wrote the second line also. Gin your voice I hadna kent, I couldn't eithly trow my een. Would any lad who loved her well have left his bonnie lass her lane alone, to sigh and greet, to weep, greet ilk langsome to sigh and weep each langsome hour and think her sweetest minutes gone. Oh, had ye been a leal, a loyal wooer, we should have met with hearts more keen. But I must have another love, whose Joe, a dear, whose love goes never out of mind, and won't let the moment pass when to a lassie can be kind. Then go your ways to blinkin' bless, no more for Johnny shall she green, shall she pine. Hey, how my Johnie Lad, you don't know sae kind ye should hae been. So this is This is not in James Kinsley's supposedly definitive 1968 edition. This song is a good illustration of where the words definitive and conservative diverge. Because there's so much evidence of Burns's involvement in the song, and I'm gonna read you that because I've made a case for it. So it's not in that 68 edition. However, you can hear Andy Stewart sing it quite sensibly and beautifully on his Songs of Robert Burns record. I believe Serge Hovey also included it. But it's not, of course, Donald Lowe's edition, just copied all of Kinsley's choices, his Songs of Robert Burns, and so on. So there's a question, and I'm going to answer this question today. So Burns set this to this melody called Lasses of the Ferry from Neil Stewart's collection of the newest and best reels or country dances, 1761, a book in his possession, and it really makes the song, that tune. It's just a great pairing. So what Burns had was from what is called David Hurd's manuscripts. David Hurd was a song and ballad collector. He published ancient and modern Scots songs in 1769 and 1776. He was a contemporary of Burns. He was earlier and lived later than Burns's short life. He was around Edinburgh, and when Burns got involved with the Scots Musical Museum as a collector, we don't know if he never mentioned Burns, and so people have questioned whether he had access to these manuscripts, but his versions are so close. I mean, I'll mak you be fain to follow me. It's a two-part melody. There were only 3 verses, so he wrote a 4th to fill it out. He changed make to mak, and he wrote a verse riffing on the sound of mak, a beautiful last verse. And so it's clear to me that he had it to work with. So I'm going to read you this. Throughout the complex history of Burns's song legacy, the naming of authorities has resulted in adding the patina of their presuppositions to our view of the author. James Kinsley's method relies on 2 principles: final version and manuscript confirmation. The problem with the first principle is that Burns was a notably poor reviser of his early drafts. The problem with the second is that reliance on the presence of manuscripts leads to the suppression of legitimate texts. This is where the meanings of definitive and conservative diverge. This applies to more than the bawdry. I put butter in my Donald's Bros yesterday. This article, I'm working on an article for a Scottish publisher, and when it comes through, I'll tell you more about it. But this is just an example, because he really came down hard on excluding as much of the bawdry as he could. For example, in his folk song work for the Scots Musical Museum, Burns included some 20 texts adapted from the collector David Hurd's manuscripts. Whether Burns knew Hurd or received copies from Hurd's friend, the Scots Musical Museum contributor William Tytler, is arguable, but his access to the material is evident in his version's close resemblance to that source. Kinsley printed all of the amended pieces from Hurd for which he had manuscripts, among them Dusty Miller, I'll mak you be fain to follow me, and the White Cockade. By comparing Hey How Johnie Lad, Scots Musical Museum number 357, to the Hey How Johnie Lad in Hurd, you can see this online at the Library of Scotland. David Hurd's manuscripts, edited by Hans Hecht, was published in the early 20th century, and you can read the whole thing there. It is apparent that Burns wrote line 2 of the first stanza, replacing its repeated first line, and the entire third stanza. The feast of L alliterations, along with the stressed pairings of ony with bonie in its first line and greet and sweet in its second, show the poet's hand. What ony lad wha lood her weel, he left his bonnie lass her lane. to sigh and greet ilk langsome and think her sweetest minutes gane. The Scots Musical Museum did not have a second writer-editor involved in producing its Volume 4, nor had any previous contributor been working from lyrics found in Hurd's manuscripts. The lyric was Felicity set to Lasses of the Fairy from Neil Stewart's book. In the absence of a manuscript, Kinsley did not see fit to include Hey How Johnie Lad, ignoring the replacement of its line 2 while commenting, "There are no grounds for ascribing the third stanza in the Scots Musical Museum to Burns." Well, yes, there are. Hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe and be well.